In the spring of 260 AD, a Roman soldier in the province of Gaul received his military pay in a coin the empire called the antoninianus. He would have held it between his thumb and forefinger, felt its weight, and noticed something that did not sit right. The coin was thinner than the one he had received the season before. The silver sheen on its surface was a lie, a thin wash of metal over a core of bronze and copper, already wearing away at the edges to reveal the dull redness beneath. He could not have named what was happening to him. He only knew that the grain merchant at the camp market now wanted twice as many of these coins for the same sack of wheat he had bought without argument 2 years earlier. He was not wrong to be suspicious. He was watching an empire slowly eating itself from the inside, one debased coin at a time. This is not an isolated story. It is the story. Every great monetary system in history that has collapsed has followed the same mechanical sequence, and the currency always shows the symptoms before the empire admits it is sick. By the time a government acknowledges its currency has failed, the market figured it out years earlier. The warning signs are not hidden. They are encoded in the metal, in the ledger, in the price of bread. What this channel does is teach you to read them. Today we are going to decode 3 ancient monetary crises separated by centuries and continents, and then show you that they are, mechanically speaking, the same crisis. Rome in the 3rd century, Song Dynasty China in the 11th and 12th centuries, and the Byzantine Empire in the 11th century each built a system of base metal token money to plug a fiscal hole. Each one believed the token had value because the state said it had value. Each one was wrong, and the market proved it in the same way, through the same sequence of events. By the end of this video, you will be able to name the stages of that sequence, and you will recognize them when you see them again, because you will see them again. Start with the mechanism, because the mechanism is everything. When a state spends more than it collects in tax revenue, it faces a choice. It can borrow, it can cut spending, or it can manufacture purchasing power out of thin air by reducing the real content of the money it issues while keeping the face value the same. That third option is debasement, and it is as old as coinage itself. It works in the short run because it is invisible. A coin that is 90% silver and one that is 5% silver look similar enough when freshly minted. The state collects taxes in the old good coin and pays its soldiers and creditors in the new debased coin, pocketing the difference, which economists call seigniorage. Think of it like a borrowed candle. The light is real for a while. But you are burning the wax faster than you think, and one day the room goes dark all at once. Rome provides the most precisely documented version of this collapse. The denarius, Rome's standard silver coin, contained roughly 95% silver under Augustus at the turn of the 1st century AD. By the reign of Gallienus in the 260s, that silver content had fallen to somewhere between 2 and 5% by most scholarly estimates. To stretch their supply of precious metal, emperors beginning around 215 AD under Caracalla introduced the antoninianus, a coin worth 2 denarii in face value but containing far less than double the silver. The math was the state's gain and the market's loss. Over the following 50 years, as military spending exploded to contain civil wars and barbarian pressure on multiple frontiers simultaneously, the silver content of these coins was diluted to almost nothing. The result was not a gradual, manageable inflation. It was a price spiral that ancient sources describe as devastating to fixed-income earners, soldiers, and anyone who had lent money at fixed rates. Papyrus records from Roman Egypt show wheat prices roughly doubling between 200 and 270 AD, then accelerating dramatically after that. The market had decoded the coin before the treasury admitted what it had done. Song Dynasty China followed the same arc through a different technology. China was the first civilization to deploy paper money at scale. The jiaozi began in Sichuan province around 1023 AD as a government-backed certificate of deposit. It was, initially, credible, because it was backed by reserves of copper coin. Then the northern Song faced exactly what Rome had faced, military pressure from the north, in this case the Jurchen Jin dynasty, combined with an administrative state that had grown beyond its tax base. The government began issuing jiaozi beyond its reserve backing. By the early 12th century, historians estimate that paper money in circulation had grown to a multiple of several times the reserve base supporting it. When the Jin captured the northern capital Kaifeng in 1127 and the southern Song government needed to finance its retreat and reconstitution, the printing accelerated. The jiaozi depreciated against copper coin. Copper coin itself was hoarded because Gresham's law held then as it holds now, bad money drives out good, meaning people spend the debased currency and save the sound one. The Song eventually issued new paper instruments to replace the discredited old ones, but each new instrument followed the same trajectory, because the underlying fiscal deficit that caused the first debasement had not been resolved. This is the pattern inside the pattern. The reset is real, but it is temporary, because the incentive structure that produced the debasement survives the debasement itself. Which empire do you think we are most like right now? Tell me in the comments below, and tell me why. Byzantium completes the triad. The Byzantine follis, a large copper coin introduced around 498 AD under Emperor Anastasius, was the workhorse of daily commerce in the Eastern Roman Empire for centuries. It held its size and weight through periods of strong central administration. Then, in the 11th century, beginning roughly with the reign of Michael IV in the 1030s and accelerating through successive reigns, the gold nomisma began to be debased, and the copper follis followed. By the 1070s and 1080s, under the pressure of military defeats including the catastrophic loss at Manzikert in 1071, where Byzantine forces were routed by the Seljuk Turks and the emperor himself captured, the gold content of the nomisma had fallen to somewhere around 10% of its earlier purity by some numismatic analyses. The copper follis shrank in size and weight. Merchants began quoting two prices, one for payment in old coin, one for the new. When a market starts maintaining two price lists for the same currency, the confidence is already gone. The currency still circulates because people have no immediate alternative, but it circulates at a discount to reality. Here is the false belief that every one of these states held, and that every debasing state holds, because it is the belief that makes the trap invisible until it closes. The belief is this, that the value of money comes from the authority of the issuer, and that as long as the issuer commands enough military and administrative power to enforce acceptance of its currency, the currency will hold its value. This is wrong in a specific, mechanical way. The value of money is a claim on real goods and services. When the quantity of money tokens grows faster than the quantity of real goods those tokens can be exchanged for, each token commands less in the market. This is not a political opinion. It is arithmetic. The market does not care about the emperor's face on the coin. It cares about how many coins are chasing the available grain. Believing you are the exception to this arithmetic is not confidence. It is the symptom of a system already in late-stage debasement. The warning signs synthesize clearly across all three cases. First, watch for fiscal deficits funded by money creation rather than savings or productive borrowing. Second, watch for the spread between old issue and new issue currency, or between official exchange rates and market rates. Third, watch for the velocity of the debasement itself. A small debasement held for a generation is different from a large debasement accelerating over a decade. Fourth, watch for the hoarding of sound money alongside the circulation of debased money, because that divergence is the market rendering its verdict in real time. These are not predictions. They are readings of a pattern that has left its fingerprints across 3,000 years of ledger books, papyrus records, and surviving coinage that you can hold in a museum today and feel the thinness of, just as that Roman soldier felt it in Gaul in the spring of 260 AD. The candle borrowed against tomorrow's wax always goes out. The question every great monetary system faces is never whether this arithmetic exists. The question is only how long the illusion of exception can be maintained, and who is left holding the debased coin when it ends. Every great power believed it was different. The ledger disagreed. Subscribe, one collapse decoded at a time.